Dude, I punched my dad in the face.
Your dad?
Yeah.
No, get out.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, how did you get to a place
He
where you-
confronted me about smoking weed,
Yeah.
and he said he read my rap journal because I used to rap.
Yeah.
And he read my journal, dude, and then I just like,
So you're pissed at him.
dude, I flipped out on him, and then he's like, I cussed him out, and then like, he's like, all right, get out of here, like get out of the house, like basically like kicking me out, and so then I started trying to get some of my stuff out of my room, and we started tussling, fighting, and he was, next thing I know, like he was choking me, and so I just punched him. I didn't even like think about it because he was like, and I just like reacted, and then he started gushing blood, like ran out of the house and stuff. It was crazy.
Hi guys, welcome back to Below the Surface, Conversations for Men by Men. My name is Kudakwashim Shaike. I'm your host. In this channel we have conversations with men about their lives, the things that affect them, the challenges they're facing, and also their hopes and dreams for the future. And this week I'll be talking to Cameron Stroll. Cam is a spiritual mentor for teenagers, a nutritionist, and a podcaster. In this episode, we'll talk about dating, what stops us from being vulnerable, seeking validation from other people, and loneliness.
If not daily, like,
Yeah.
multiple times a week, I try to sit down every morning and, do some kind of reflection
Yeah.
practice. I read the Bible, I pray, but I also, so it depends on how deep the reflection is. I don't think I dwell too much on past stuff. Like, I think I've tried to deal with a lot of my past, but just present, like things going on today, yesterday, tomorrow, like,
Okay.
I'll,
So you
I'll
say
think about
you
those
think you've dealt with most of your past, but what is some
Yeah.
of the past that you feel like you had to deal with?
Yeah, this is a good question. It's like, need a break?
Yeah.
Grab a Snickers. Need a break? Take What's most of the past that I've dealt with? I've dealt with a lot of different things, man. I mean, I think one of the predominant issues that I've had to deal with and maybe still dealing with, I can't say I've dealt with everything. That sounds a little crazy. I think there'll always be something to deal with. There's always layers. So one of the major ones, I think, would be dealing with authority and the authority issues in my life. I think I grew up middle child, very kind of crazy, wild, free spirit, like running around, just like very active. And then I was anti-education, kind of anti-organization, anything that was, trying to put me in a box or something. I just didn't really fool with it. I didn't like it. And so I rebelled. I didn't do well in school. I said, no, I like parents trying to, exercise discipline on me. I didn't really like that. Even though that's just kind of a kid, I guess. To me, that's just how kids are. But some kids are smarter and they go along with it, to achieve something. For me, I rebelled and I didn't have too many issues. There was one teacher who really was mean to me, like for no reason. Like, she yelled at me every day. A fourth grade teacher would just yell at me. And turns out, they found out 10 years later she had an anger issue. She had to go to anger management.
Oh, wow.
Because she was yelling at a desk. Like in front of the class, she'd be teaching, and then she'd just turn and yell at this desk. But with me, in my grade, like 10 years before, she would yell at me every day.
Wow.
So much so that certain kids were afraid to raise their hand to go to the bathroom and stuff like that because they were afraid she was going to yell at them.
Wow.
But so I hated her. And so after that, I think I kind of was like, man,
but I think you talked about how, like, your home structure also, like, what's that?
Yeah, so, I mean, my parents were pretty supportive and cool. I definitely had a kind of, it was, every parent, like, parental dynamic is a little different, but I think for me, it was kind of classic. Dad works, provides mostly financially, and then my mom was mostly raising us. She stayed at home for a little bit. Okay. She ended up getting a job as well. And they still work really hard. But my mom mostly was the one disciplining and things like that. So I think I I felt that that was a little weird. So I have so there's some of the issues that stem from that are not only authority that I think there's, and she had 4 kids, so I can't blame her. She that's a hard job, but at the same time, I think a mother's more supposed to be not only disciplinarian, but more of a nurturer, and the father kind of more of the authority, hey, kind of, because a man can be more threatening than a woman in that way.
Okay.
So I think you want to more submit to that, but I think with my mom, I kind of pushed back. She was very emotional. We're very much the same. So me and my mom are have a crazy relationship where we would be arguing one minute, laughing the next minute, very volatile.
The next minute,
because we're very similar. So we'd set each other off, but then also get each other cracking up. But yeah, I think that led me to that, coupled with that teacher who happened to be a woman as well. I think I kind of just was I don't want authority. This isn't fair. This is unjust treatment. I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah.
And my parents kind of compared me to my older siblings.
Okay.
A lot to why can't you be more like your brother? Why can't you be more like your sister?
I hate that, man.
And I was just forget that. I remember saying in 4th grade, that's performance-based love. That's what I remember saying. So I said,
where did you learn that term, bro?
I don't know. But I remember saying
that. Because people have to get to therapy to understand and learn that.
I didn't go to therapy until later on in my life, until I was 20 something. But yeah, so I think that was kind of part of my authority issues, where they stem from. And I think I've just had to deal with okay, no, I can trust people. It's actually more wise to listen to someone. I don't have to make the same mistakes. 'Cause I think I was one of those people that had to learn the hard way, fall on my face, to learn the lesson. Didn't want to listen to people. And so didn't really have, people I looked up to, I want to be like this person, kind of my brother, but then I hated my brother after, a while. I was just I don't want to be anything like him. So there was more rebellion than there was following.
But where do you think that rebellion was coming from?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the lack of feeling loved, feeling accepted. I wanted to feel, I think everyone wants to feel understood, accepted, loved.
Yeah.
And I felt I wasn't getting that. So I felt you gotta love me for me not being like everyone else. I'm an individual. I think I've always had this kind of individualistic, it's in my personality. I'm not like you. I'm different. I'm, a little snowflake over here, a little unique, being. And I didn't want to be lumped into any category. I didn't want to have to do homework to get a reward. I was no, you should just love me for who I am. I felt this, that was right or something. When really, now I see it to an extent that's true, but there's also I didn't value discipline and things like that, where it's no, you need to work for something. You need to also earn respect. There is things that isn't just inherently given to you. You can't just
you have to get that.
There's something to discipline. There's something to listening to authority. There's something to submitting and conforming to a degree. It's good,
Absolutely.
And so, but I think for a while I rebelled. I dropped out of high school. There's a lot of ways I rebelled. Didn't want to fit into the mold, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how is that rebellion showing up later on in your life, and how does that look like?
To the present day?
Yeah.
Ooh, I think present day it shows up where I have a hard time hearing, if I don't agree with someone, a boss, my boss, right? Or someone who's above me.
Well, your boss is your pastor, man.
Right. You're not supposed to tell them that. But yeah, if it's my boss or anyone that's kind of above me, I can traditionally I don't just listen first right away. But so I've had to work on that and had to kind of go, okay, there's actually scriptures about it that help me, but it's something I can't remember exactly where it is, but there's something along the lines of I could find it later, maybe we could put it in there. But it said basically make the people who are above you their work a joy, not a burden, basically submit to them.
Yeah.
I said because if you don't, that would be of no advantage to you. And I realized that I was hurting myself a lot more by not listening to people that were above me for whatever reason, whether I thought they were right, whether I thought they were wrong, whether I thought, because the fact of the matter is, it was being unspiritual and it was hurting me, because then they're not going to want to fool with me. People aren't going to want to, I was building the wrong reputation of like, oh, Cameron's a guy who's not easy to work with. He doesn't want to listen to anybody. He thinks he knows it all. Like you start, people start pigeonholing you and putting you in a box that you fashioned for yourself is what I learned. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm all the things I'm mad about right now, and why I'm not respected, why I'm not maybe further along career or in people, like, just in the way people view me. A lot of that is because of my own, issues. And so I kind of had to deep dive.
How was that process coming to that realization for you?
Dude, that was a hard one. Well, I think it was a lot of honest conversations. Luckily, I have good friends, and you were mentioning the pastor. Like luckily, my boss, like the people around me are really spiritual, and they, I think, had a lot of patience, a lot of love with me over the years. You know what I mean? Like, because I've worked, I do work for my church, but I've worked for them in and out for the last 10 years. Like, I worked 3 different times for them, for like usually like a year and a half. And this is my longest stint. Like, it's been like 2.5 years.
Okay.
And, but those people, there's great people around me who tell me the truth. They go, bro, you don't listen, man. Like, people will tell me like straight up. And then I had to, and I'm one of those guys where someone tells me straight up, sometimes I won't listen. But if 3 people tell me the same thing, and my close friends are telling me, then I really go,
I need to do something.
I'm like, because I trust, there's different degrees of trust. I have a hard time with authority, but I tend to trust my friends a little bit more, and or girlfriend or whoever. Yeah. And everybody was, like, it was like the resounding, like, yes, like, dude, like, you have these issues. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should look into that. so then I started kind of down that process, studying it out more. I actually went to therapy because I figured, okay, maybe there's more there. So I did that for, a few months, found a guy that I was like, oh, maybe we'll dig up more to see.
What did you find out?
I mean, I don't know if I found out like something that I could regurgitate like in a sentence or like, but I found out a lot. I think I just dove deeper into things that I wasn't always fully accepting about myself. Like even the past, dove into the past more. So dove into that relationship with my parents more. Yeah. Dove into the, kind of like the love, like learned that a little bit more, like more, it was more clear, that I was looking for love and now I'm looking for love in this other way. It just looks different. And also learned more about just my ego, man, my pride, and the insecurities that are there, and that, kind of weighing out the pros and cons of like, I don't know, I think therapy can be a great tool for anyone. Like, I think, I tell so many of my friends, I'm like, hey, you should try out there. Because I think people think about it like this weird thing. I think it's helpful for anyone, even if you don't have a mental health condition or anything. Like, absolutely. Like, I don't think there was anything discovered in that time. It's not like I had like this diagnosable thing, but it was helpful to dive into that. And then for me, bring it into like my practice of how I do things spiritually. Like I take it to God in prayer, talk about it with my friends, read about it, study about it in the Bible. And then I'm able to get some clarity more like spiritual. And anything I learn, I always, I like to say, apply it.
So you're learning from other people, like biblical stories. And,
right, yeah. So
and you're seeing yourself in there.
Yeah, exactly. And vice versa. I'll take the story that the therapist gave me and I'll apply it to like, what does that mean in the Bible? Like, what does that mean? Where is that parallel here? Because I think the Bible is everything.
So you're saying like, you realize that, now I'm doing this to find love. I was doing that to find love. Mm-hmm. What is this now that you feel like you're doing to find love?
Well, that's a good question. I think a lot of it, and the reason I wanted approval from authority, I wanted respect, right? So I wanted, and so a lot of, this is it. A lot of what I was putting my security in, like myself, was like, my knowledge about nutrition, my knowledge about who I think I am, all these different things, and your acknowledgement of that for me, right? So if people didn't do that, which are a lot of people, most people wouldn't really respect a lot of things, right? Like, so if I'm talking about, like, I think I went to school for nutrition and things like that. Yeah. So if someone in my life didn't respect that and they didn't give me that respect, I get so mad. right? Or if someone in a conversation is telling me something that I feel like or interpret it as them not showing me respect, I would then get mad because I needed so badly and I realized that I don't need security from people like that. I can get more security from God. I can get more security from not even the identity of like nutrition stuff. I realized I was putting too much of my identity
into that
in my career or what I knew, what I thought I knew.
Yeah.
Instead of just being secure in, the fact that, I don't have it all together. I don't know everything about everything, and I do need to learn from people, and that's okay. And like, there's a lot of that where I had to
just be secure in yourself. Like, I'm
enough. Yeah, man. Like I'm enough, but also like I'm not enough. It's okay. Like it's like people aren't going to approve, and I don't need that all the time. And so it was more getting more from God for me, where I was able to kind of understand that I am loved, there in that relationship, and that nobody's ever going to be able to have the perfect response. Not my closest friends, not my girlfriend, not, it doesn't matter. Like it's okay for people to not understand and not give me, the respect or whatever I feel like they should give me, or the love. That people are fallible. Like, I think I was putting too much on people. Like I was putting too much, I had too many expectations, too much, it's like I don't know how to say it, but it's a relationship that I think was like, it was skewed. I had a skewed view of relationships and what they're supposed to be. Yeah. Instead of, I guess the way I see it now is a little different.
What do you mean it was skewed? In what way was it?
I think I was expecting too much from them to give me too much. Like I needed too much. I was needy, I think, in relationships too much. Like, and therefore, and because I was so insecure, that came out. Like I needed you to give me security, you to validate me a little bit more than is necessary. Like there's a degree of like mutual respect and love, but that's healthy. Yeah. But then there's another degree that's unhealthy. You know what I mean? And I think I wanted an unhealthy level of security and needs being met from people. And I've had all those kind of, and it's almost evolved. Like I happened in relationships first with women and things like that. Like I was going to get my needs met from them for a long time. My 20s, I feel like were all me trying to date, find a wife. Like from 25 to 30, I'm 32 now. Like I was just like, oh, she's the one. And even when I was in high school, like looking for the one, like thinking a girl was going to meet my needs. Probably because like I was saying about my mom, like I was looking for a mom. I was looking for a nurturer. The nurturing I didn't get as a kid, I was kind of looking for that from women. Yeah. And thinking that was going to be the answer. And then I just failed. Crash and burn relationships, just fail. Yeah. And
what was the common theme in the failures?
I think it was just like kind of like I was saying, expecting too much. Like it was this fantasy of what a relationship's supposed to be. Yeah. And just this really off view, like this, to like I guess to put it in like biblical terms, like an impure view. Like if a pure view is like, oh, this is like, you're my friend, right? Like Kuda Kwashe is my friend. Yeah. I have love for him. He's like my dude. If I'm using you to get more subscribers for my YouTube channel, and I'm going to post this and feel better myself. Yeah. That's an impure motivation. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think I had an impure motivation for dating. It was about me. It was about what I could get from somebody. How she's going to make me feel.
It was the search for that. It was coming from a place of scarcity, not trying to give yourself.
Yeah, not this like mutual, like, man, this is going to be great. We're going to make each other better. Yeah. Like I thought those things, but in my heart, like that wasn't, and the actions weren't showing that. Like there wasn't a.
So when the people honest with you and be like, you're asking for too much, or I don't feel like you're giving as much as you want from me. Or how did that?
I think it more just no. I don't think they were like in those relationships with those women. It was more. It would just kind of erupt eventually, or I would be super disappointed. Or it just created a really unhealthy dynamic, kind of a weird codependent thing where I would be trying to help them a lot and to make them into something that was going to be better for me, and not instead of appreciating who they were and then also in building those relationships, or before I even started dating these women, choosing the person that I thought would I had a more of a shallow outlook in why I was choosing that person. It was more because it was more surfacey, like more how they're gonna make me feel, not like, man, this person's really great, like they're like these qualities. It wasn't deep, you know what I mean? So I think that even the reason I was picking them led to disaster, and it wasn't super bad. Like, there was nothing that crazy.
So can you give me examples of some of those things?
Of some of like the
surface level things that you.
Oh, it was just like looks, you know what I mean? Like the vibe, like, oh, do we like, you know, do we click? Do we have common interests? I was basically dating myself. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to.
Someone who eats a lot of meat.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't eating a lot of meat at some of these times. I ate more meat in the last 16 months, but it was more like, you know, personality, more like interests in like, you know, I'm kind of a weird, you know, dude. I like a lot of weird stuff. So if someone was a little weird like me, like or in a different way weird, like I kind of vibed with like people that weren't the normal kind of person. So the last girlfriend I had was like more of an artist, more like, you know, I think it's funny because I remember our first conversation. I was trying to hide my girlfriend at the time from you because she was Congolese, and you were like, "What, you dated a Congolese person?" But you know, I think she wasn't the normal kind of person I'd come across. She was Congolese, born in Ukraine, or like from Ukraine, raised in Oakland. Like she had this like eclectic background. Cool. She was an artist. I was like, man, that's like, but that wasn't as deep. You know what I mean? Like that's not that deep. That's just like surface level stuff.
Like I found the one.
And she's obviously more than that, but that's not a good foundation to build a relationship on. So different. I came at this relationship I'm in now a little differently.
So how is it different? Like what are you looking for now?
Yeah, well, so I think that's a good question. You got some good questions over here.
Yeah, man.
I think you just rapid fire.
I'm asking you all these questions, so you won't have to ask me questions if you're big smart.
Oh, is that what it is? So I gotta turn the table, bro. We gotta talk about your relationship. So I think the things that I changed was I think it's interesting with my current girlfriend. I didn't like her for a long time.
Oh.
I just was like, people were trying to set me up with her, and I was like, no. Because I was looking at shallow, just the surface, and I was like, you know, she's sort of attractive, but I was like, she was kind of, to me, like, not the person I want to be with. I was like, that's exactly the opposite, because we're so different.
Yeah. So
different, and I think when I started valuing more deeper qualities, like someone who, like, you know, has a drive, you know what I mean, an ambition, like someone who's like someone who serves, someone who has a great heart to like love people, care about people, you know, has a great relationship with God, like those kind of things that I think are a little deeper.
Yeah. When
I started kind of valuing those things, I started seeing more than just because I think before I'd be attracted to somebody for like random reasons, not just their physical attraction, but the oh, she's an artist or she eats beef or whatever, right? It was more shallow. But like, this time I was like, oh no, there's like something deeper, and I kept building a friendship to see what those were and like tried to discover what that is and appreciate those things more. And then I got more attracted to her on a deeper level. And then it was like, you know, now we're dating, but it was a journey because I wasn't really attracted initially for those reasons because I was like, she's not my like type kind of thing. It was like, she doesn't have like, it wasn't this initial like, oh, she's really good looking and she's got all these different things. It wasn't like that those bells weren't going off.
Yeah.
So I thought a lot of it was changing myself, like because I think we kind of sometimes are attracted to what we are or what we're doing. So I think doing all that work and things I was telling you about, that actually happened before dating her. And so I had to do a lot of like self reflection and a lot of work. And a lot of that was seeing how my dating relationships have just been trash. And the reason why was me, like I was the common denominator. So I had to change that up. And I think, you know, through a lot of good, like I said, good conversations, a lot of good Bible studies on it. So can I get you more, bro?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, this stuff is bomb. Wow. You got me on this solid life.
I have a few questions. Like but I want to. Okay. I think the question I have is like about. You said you were seeking that nurturing like relationship and stuff, like something that would bring that nurturing that you felt you didn't get as much from your childhood. But how do you, now that you're cognizant of that now,
Mm-hmm.
how has that changed? Like, where are you getting that nature now?
Good question. I think, well, now that I've become more aware of it, I think, it comes up in, I think in any relationship, it's kind of a natural thing for you to kind of want to get more from your partner than you should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like I think that's something that's just gonna come up. So as it comes up, I'm more aware of it and able to kind of name it more or address it and say, because I think there's power in awareness. That's like the beginning, right? You go, oh, this is what's happening right here.
Okay.
I'm expecting you to be God for me, that kind of thing. Because I think that's what people do in relationships. It's like, you're my number one, meet my needs, and I don't think anyone can do that. So first of all, I think it's believing that someone can't do that. Before, I used to think, oh no, this girl's gonna make me happier, and she might make you happier to a degree, but there's a degree of that, like where she'll make you happy is like a good relationship can be. But at the end of the day, you got to be secure in yourself. You got to have your own happiness, so to speak.
And like what I'm seeing is like the things that you talked about that I could relate to was trying to make my relationships like God in some ways, and putting people on pedestals. Like I think I used to do that a lot. And I struggled with that for a long time. Like I would meet somebody and I would get so excited. And maybe like you were saying, like someone is an artist, you're like, oh my God, you're imagining all these things you could do with them. And with how their lifestyle makes you so much about what you're trying to find. And then it just becomes like you're seeking that so much from the relationship. And then when they don't come through on that, like you get that disappointment. Right? And it's something that I'm like, wow, like you just opened my mind by you talking about that, because it just helped me like go back through everything that I've gone through and just be like, wow, I've struggled with that too. So that's definitely one of the struggles. And I think the struggle for me, which motivated me starting this platform, was that I grew up in a single parent household. My father passed away when I was a year old. And for a long time, I struggled not having a male figure in my life to sort of give me pointers and help me with a sense of direction of where I was going. Some years I was really good. There were times when I was fine for a long time. I think there are different phases of life where I feel like a male figure is necessary in a boy's life.
Definitely.
And not having that can be quite very hard. And some of the things that I remember was early on in my life, it was when I was 4, 5, 6. The earlier stages when you're studying primary school, it's like other kids that talk about their parents. They talk about, my father does this when he's drunk and I get to get money from him, or my father says this type of things, and like people are coming to school with gifts. Like one gift that I always wanted was a PlayStation. I wanted a PlayStation, but before I wanted a PlayStation, there was this like brick games and these games you play on the console. And my mom couldn't afford that, but kids would come to school and be like, my dad bought me this, my dad did this. And so that phase was hard. But that's more surface level. I was still a child. I didn't understand the deeper levels of the things that I needed. And over time, when I got to college, it was more like, damn, it's like I came to America, very different context, very different understanding of how people carry themselves through space, how relationships look like. Relationships were more like, I need this, more like consumer focused almost. Like it's more like
transactional.
You'd be surprised how much capitalism in America kind of sips into everything, even just like relationships. So that to me was a culture shock. And I was presented with, so many women that were open doing things that I was like, we don't do this back home. Like I can do this for real. So I struggled with that, with that openness, with like people just willing to do anything even though you didn't have a relationship with them. And so I got into a dissonance in myself where I was like, I kind of want to do this, but I don't know what to do. Should I be doing it? And I couldn't tell my mom, because that's when, like you're growing as a man, you get this strong hormones out of nowhere. You just want to just want to, like, for lack of a better word, fuck everything. Like, you just want to, like, you got this, like, energy.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to do things. You
Right,
feel me?
right.
And I was
Definitely.
like, my mom wouldn't understand what's going on with me. And so
you needed some male
I needed a male figure in my life, but I didn't really have that. And so that's part of the reason why I started this thing, because I was like,
right.
I want to be able to, I think as men, we don't allow ourselves to have these conversations, which are very hard.
Right.
And you can imagine with the structure we currently have, you can just walk up to another guy and tell them and ask them, oh, bro, how do you manage this stuff?
Right.
How do you
It's not the everyday typical
this? It's not the everyday typical conversation. And I remember trying to have these conversations with my friends at school. And like, they'll just laugh.
Yeah.
Or they'll make a joke about something.
Like,
and just be like, ah. And then all of a sudden,
or they make fun of you for
it. Like, oh, you feeling like that, bro? Yeah. Like, you should be happy, bro. Like, just go and have fun. Or like, I'm like, but I'm not having fun.
Right.
I feel some way about this. And
that's interesting, man. What do you, I mean, because a lot of people, I feel like there's a lot of people that grow up with dysfunctional family or a single parent home who don't go after that. So what do you feel like motivated you besides, because I think there's something in you that obviously made you go after that, where the other person in the same circumstance maybe would be like, forget that, I don't want to learn from anybody.
I think for me it was seeing the need, but also just seeing how much it changes people and helps people. And I started thinking of my life forward. I did experiments with myself where I was trying to have these conversations with people in my life, and I saw how much it changed our relationship and how much it made it deeper and good. Like when I started having conversations that were deeper and about real stuff with some of my friends, I realized that I had to do it separate from the group, because once you bring it to the group, it's difficult to have a real conversation. So I started having one-on-ones with my friend. I was like, man, I like my friends much more than I did, and I know so much more about them. And they started opening up. Like, I'm my friend. Like, even when I started this thing, and I told my friend, like, yo, bro, like, I'm doing this thing. My friend is like, bro, we need to talk. And I was like, what, man? You've been like not talking about this whole time.
Right.
So it's like once that there's that like understanding that there's a bridge, people are willing to cross over. But people would rather stay where they are because they're like, oh, there's no bridge, I can go over there.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was seeing that need and seeing how much meeting that need changes the scope of things. And I was like, oh my God. And also seeing it from a personal level was like, man, I didn't have this.
Right.
And I don't want people not to have that, because I feel like it's necessary. Right. And with African homes, it's even worse.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting that you said the cultural difference. I was like, because I obviously grew up here, so I don't know that difference.
You don't know there's a difference.
That was fascinating to think about. I was like, oh, I've never considered that it would be way different over there.
Oh, it's absolutely different.
Like, as far as interpersonal relationships, I wouldn't think it would be that different, but the culture affects it in a major way.
So like liberalism in its own self affects how people move through space and what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go in terms of interpersonal relationship. Yeah. Oh, like, absolutely. And capitalism, like, not to blame it. And I know people like, you know, sometimes
it gets a bad rap, but there's obvious consequences to anything.
Absolutely, there is, because like I think what capitalism does or liberalism does is that it just tells people that they can be open to doing anything.
Right. Everything's okay.
That everything is okay.
Get yours, like, at any cost. Like,
but with that, we forget that there are consequences to anything we do, and there's results to anything we do, and there's responsibilities to anything we do.
So true. Well, I think the moral, there's a morality that goes out the window. Yeah. You know, with a lot of, like, you're talking about liberalism, I think there is this, like, the far left is like, you know, it gets a little out there when it's just throw away all morality. It's kind of like, not that they throw away all morality, but there's a degree of like everything's okay. Yeah. And it's like, no, not everything's okay, because and that has consequences, and I think it has, you know, this political.
The funny thing about that is that for liberalism to work, it depends on morality to be strong, because it's like but it also tries to fight structures of morality. For example, it's like, oh, this, like, it's not good. It's okay not to be religious, but then sometimes you need that religion to be in the society for them to have morals.
Come on, thank you. Well, I think that's the thing, is like people want to discount what the country was founded on, and a lot of it is these, like, you know, deep-seated morals from the Bible,
and
then people want to throw the whole thing out, and it's like, well, no, you can't do that.
And you can't do it, because once you throw that away, you don't have liberalism, which you're fighting.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, because then what's your foundation on? And then people go, oh, well, it's on, it's just on random people's opinions. It's like your opinion versus my opinion.
But our opinions are always going to be different.
That's what I'm saying. And then it's everybody's philosophy, and then it's like a general consensus philosophy of what's right, but it's like, okay, what's right today, and then what's right tomorrow. It's like there's always something added. And then it just gets crazy.
It gets crazy.
And that is where we're at right now.
And trust me, it gets worse and worse.
That's what I'm saying.
Because people are stretching the boundaries more and more and more. Until the level that we don't have boundaries anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
That's scary.
It is scary. And I now consider myself a little more conservative. I thought I was a liberal more, like I was more liberal before. And as I'm starting to understand more of this and how society is working, I'm like, oh no, I'm more conservative in my belief system. Because like I just see it's like, people left to their own devices and just like, oh, let me do whatever. Like it's causing a lot of issues, bro. Like, and I think to even on an interpersonal level, on a judgment level, you can't talk, because talking like and having conversations, people don't think they can have conversations about these things because someone's gonna be like, oh, you're judging, or you're racist, or you're it's like, no, I'm just talking about the differences here, or sexist or something. Like, no, there's a difference between a man and a woman. Let's celebrate those differences. Let's treat each other like with respect. But it's like, people, there's no like,
it's like once you say that, it's like,
we can't talk about it. People think you're like far off. Like I was talking to somebody about it's funny, this makes me think about I used to think it was just a Christian thing, but like how there's ignorance in the Christianity and people don't want to question things, but really it's just a human thing. Like people want to feel right, people want to feel like they're right, and if you challenge that belief, there's gonna be issues, right? That's why I say don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics. But like I think it's interesting to me because I feel like people just otherize and classify someone. Like if you believe this thing, they don't even want
to talk to you.
They don't have a discussion. They're like, what? You're a Republican, you're a Democrat, or you're or like like people, they say the anti-vaxxer people, and it's like, like we can why don't we have a discussion about it? Because there's science that people don't understand with certain things. I'm not saying people shouldn't get vaccines. I think there's a case for it. But then there's also a case, there's room for a discussion on like, oh, why do you feel worried about a vaccine? Do you want to get this organic vaccine instead? That makes sense based on these studies. And it makes sense that you wouldn't want to vaccinate. But then some people don't know the history. And it's like, we do need to vaccinate to this degree. But it's like, but maybe we don't need to vaccinate all the babies.
And that's sad because we're not having these conversations. We don't grow as a society.
That's what I'm saying.
And the other thing is that, and you can see it in like I think people are so focused on tolerance, but tolerance is not enough. Because what tolerance does is that it makes people not bring out what they really feel and think. And that's why the election was surprising for people. Why? Because people are just quiet about what they really think.
What they really think. So it's like, what?
And it's like, now you see
everyone's like, oh, this is America?
You're not having conversations.
Seriously, bro.
Because you're not asking other people, like Republicans are not going
what they really think,
like
what they really feel.
What they really feel and what they really think. And at an interpersonal level, we're now being open about like how we feel and like how it makes us feel.
Well, and bring it back to like the thing you said. You said that you found that as you talk to people in these interviews that there's more of a commonality in what they're going through is what you're going through. And I think that's what we lose. We
feel so alone, right? Because we're not.
We lose the common humanity that like we're connected in that way. Like we're both human. We're both. There's so much that we have in common. Doesn't matter what our political beliefs are or scientific, like whatever ignorance that we could like think. It doesn't matter. Like there's a interpersonal thing, and then when I understand that about you and where you're coming from with why you voted for whatever, then I actually can respect you more because I understand where you're coming from. Where without that dialogue.
Like I would just label you.
I hate you, or I'm like, like you're one of them. It categorizes you into this thing when you're more complicated than that. And that's what I think it comes down to is everyone's more complicated. These issues are more complicated. Like I said, I studied nutrition. So nutrition science is complicated, and people. So there'll be a headline that says, beef causes colon cancer. When I know that that's not true because if you look at the actual science, there's no way they can prove that beef causes colon cancer. So but nobody wants to do the research. Right. Nobody wants to question it and go, because it's more complicated than that. Yeah. And so they'd rather read the headline and go, no, that's right, instead of look into it. It's just the same thing with I'd rather go, Kuda Kwashe is just some guy doing YouTube, from Zimbabwe. Yeah. That's easier. That's easier for me. He drinks chai tea. You know what I mean? Like,
then going deep to be like, why?
It's harder to be like, why does he want to have these interviews, man? What's going on with Kuda Kwashe? Like, there's deeper, there's depth to you, just like anyone, but I think people get overwhelmed. Bro.
Yeah, they do, and they don't want to do the extra work to try and understand where people are coming from.
And this is what, I don't know if you feel me on this, but I found myself in that way too, with even my closest friends, even my girlfriend, even the people I love the most. I can see myself when I'm not dealing with my issues, when my cup's full. Yeah, I don't have room to ask you. I don't want to know your issues because I have two of my own.
I have so many of my own.
So I found that I think that's another reason, that case for dealing with your issues, dealing with stuff, so that you can actually have space for people to love people. Because that's the thing, dude, that I'm really in pursuit of right now, bro. Is like, I want to learn how to love better, understand better, because nobody's an expert at that.
And I think part of it is like slowing down. Yes. Just like. And I think
just have a chai tea, bro. Have more chai tea.
For real.
Eat a steak together, bro.
It's tied in the area we live, and it's tied with kind of like what's happening around us. I mean, but I think part of it is just really slowing down. Yeah, man. And getting to have, for example, like conversations like this with people and understand where they are and how they're feeling. And, and the funny thing is, or like the deepest thing that I've read, this is my favorite book, The Hidden Pleasures of Life. This book is it's like a mixture of anthropology, history, and just modern day philosophy. It's by Theodore Zeldin. One of the things he talks about is what we're talking about like people are now being very honest about their lives and what they see and how they see the world, because they're so afraid of like once they come out about those ideas, people will look at them differently because it's such a labeling society we live in. Yeah, but one of the things
polarizing, dude.
One of the things he does say though is like ideas cannot live in loneliness. Like ideas need to make love for them to
like grow and develop.
And if you think about it, like that's my favorite. That's my favorite metaphor. Like ideas need to make love. Like right. So my idea is like right now what we're doing is like our ideas are like making love, right? Like I'm telling you something, and I'm hearing from you something, and then we're like interconnecting. That's how like the ideas grow, right? Right. Like, and that's part of why these conversations are so powerful, right? Because I'm like, when I listen to somebody talk about the challenges they're facing in their lives, like, or how their childhood is like seeping into their relationships, to their future. Right. I'm thinking of my own life too. I'm like, yo, bro, for real. And then those ideas are making love, and I'm growing as a person. Right. And the other person is growing as a person, and then we're getting to like disclose all this stuff. And some of these wounds that are just been lying there, like healing, right? Like, because you cannot heal closed wounds.
Dude, I love that.
So it's absolutely cool.
That's super deep, man. It makes me think of, it's not just ideas that we're sharing, but it's like this connection on a, I don't know, it's there's a, what else would you call it? It's not ideas, you're sharing like your thoughts, your concerns, your worries, your beliefs, your what you really care about. Because when we're going back to what we're talking about with voting or political views, religious views, it's your beliefs, it's what you really care about. Absolutely. And all of that is intertwining, and then we see that there's so much more that we share, because we are sharing. Even if we didn't share before, now we're sharing. Yeah. That tripped me out. Absolutely. That's super.
I hope you enjoyed the episode this week. And please remember, vulnerability is strength and the birthplace of love for ourselves and for others. Till next week, it's goodbye for now.